This is the Escape Podcast for Star Wars The Old Republic. This week, we're going to hit the news, and then we're going to get back to our Dreadmaster storyline. We went through all of the release of the Dreadmasters, and now we're going to hit some of the operations along the way in what will end up probably being part 2 of 3 or even 4 in a Dreadmaster lore series. This broadcast astromech is EPC 282, which means we're getting pretty close to that ultimate milestone of 307, if that's a milestone to anyone. And playing alongside me is Seema. Hi, Seema. How is it going?
Hey, Max. It's going well. I mean, I will touch on what we did for MFN this week, which was we did a bunch of world boss kills around the galaxy in pursuit of speeders, meaning there's an achievement where you kill certain world bosses, and the end result is you get a speeder. So we were working on that for people. We also did, once we exhausted all the world bosses in the galaxy that were up that we were interested in, we went and did some rampaging. And then me personally, I spent some time this week leveling one of my sorks that's not leveled yet, and some conquesting, including tonight for our ups night, because we were missing some people. We did flashpoints, and we did 3 flashpoints, and for those 3 flashpoints, we ended up getting 11k conquest points, because the first one we did was Mando Ratter, which if you do that on master mode and you get the bonus boss, then that's a conquest objective. Then we did the random flashpoint, and that was a conquest objective. And then somewhere along the way we got the the being social one.
Yeah,
and then we did another flashpoint.
Socialism. Yeah,
we did another flashpoint, and I guess that gave us the socialite too. And then somewhere in there, I mean, that was also enough, just pure killing, to get Galactic Rampage 3. So it was actually a lot of points for the flashpoints. So like BC is always saying, flashpoints are they're a good way of getting conquest points.
Excellent. Sounds good.
And having some fun. How about you, Max?
I did not. I was one of the ones that was missing tonight from our ops night. Unfortunately, got a big gold stack of work, way behind on a bunch of stuff. I did get to do our mandatory fun night on Tuesday. That was quite fun. Hitting the world bosses every once in a while is great. Those speeder quests, the Aratech quest, the Aratech Coral, the Aratech Night Scythe, there's all of those old speeder quests. The one that has the world bosses is one that we were going after in particular, which includes needing to kill Nightmare Pilgrim 3 times, which we've got to do a couple more times because that's not one you can do all in one night. Those are pretty fun. If you haven't, they're sitting on the fleet for anybody if you haven't done them, and they're per character. So there's always characters and alts that you haven't done them on. It's a good guild event if you ever want to go after those. So that was pretty good. I also spent some time this week. I got back to crafting. Well, you can see right here. I have my Fox mount that I'm so happy to have, that I bought off the GTN. And because it cost me 14.5 million credits off the GTN, I decided I needed to make some more credits. I have plenty of credits, but I did it anyway. I made some augments.
Right. You wanted to replace the credits.
And more, which I did, which was good. The market's going crazy. I don't understand right now. I think maybe people are using the charge matter transubstantiators to build and construct the 252, 258 gear, because their price is going through the roof and the augment price is going through the roof. So it is relatively profitable. They're not selling very quick, probably because they're so expensive, but the price is not coming down and the supply is not going up all that much. So of the ones I am selling, they're quite profitable.
For me personally, since I started working on, my 252 gear, it's the first time I've actually started thinking, well, maybe I will start to work on getting the new augments. So maybe a lot of people since they've been getting their gear out of OSIS, they're thinking of getting the new. I mean, I'm in a wave of people that are probably now starting to say, okay, maybe I want the new augments.
And I typically focus on the sort of the the second to top tier augment, which takes 2 charged matter transubstantiators to make instead of 4. Even those are way up there in price. I wonder if that's what it is, though. If everybody is making the top level ones, and those are the ones that people are buying. But those are really expensive.
Yeah,
There's
I
even
don't
slightly
know.
better profit margin on the tier underneath that, and maybe those are the ones that people are picking up because they're saying, "There's no way I'm going to spend 7 million on an augment."
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that makes sense.
um, excellent. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the news.
Now, an Imperial News Network report.
First up in the news, there's more discussion from Dan Tuine without the Tuine, Dan. He has started answering some of the questions that were posed to him. A couple of the questions that were started were, are you going to do things to maybe fix the website like community news that hasn't been updated since 2017? Are you going to fix some of the... There was another one which I was surprised at. I guess there's a Strongholds forum. Not much is going on in there, and it doesn't even have the same kind of icon on it on the forums listing that the other forums do. So people were asking, is this even a thing? Does anybody pay attention to it? So looks like Dan's on the case and is going to be fixing a couple of those things. He may take an opportunity to use that community news forum to get some influencer activities up there. And if that's the case, maybe we'll talk to Dan and be a part of that.
Also, this week, there is a sale on the cartel market. Notably, collection unlocks are 50% off. Plus, there's additional sale items, which I know for me, I noticed that there's a very deep discount right now on pet. So I did pick up a pet that I didn't have, which was the Devious Creep. I'll pull him out while I'm thinking here. So that was, so that was, yeah. So I bought the Devious Creep and then I unlocked them, and actually I went through and unlocked everything in my collection pretty much that I hadn't unlocked previously in the last sale, and it wasn't that much. So clearly, I need to do some shopping.
That's what I needed to remind myself to do tonight. I did not unlock the Volpera. So I'm going to do that right now while we're talking, the Volptilla, because that was the key thing I was waiting for this unlock sale to unlock. So I'm going to purchase this right now. Purchase, unlock, yes. And I also got the Devious Creep, so maybe I'll unlock that one while I'm thinking about it. Because this is the kind of thing I procrastinate and then forget to do. Look, I've got this Forest Crest Devourer I could unlock too. I don't know why I haven't unlocked that. 120. He only costs like 80 to buy. I guess he's on sale, but his unlock isn't on as much of a sale as he is. Anyway, I'll unlock him. There.
He's an adorable little monster.
He is a little... Creep. Yeah, he's a little thing, isn't he? He matches the Naga Sadao armor that Apollos wears, which has got the big eyeball in the middle of your chest. Also up in the news, Eric responded to some questions in... Well, it was originally in general. It was a question about unassembled components and how those are going to work in quote-unquote 6.0. So first of all, Eric started off with this comment, what is this elusive 6.0 you were speaking of? And a couple people in the responses took offense to him saying that, like he was being mean to people. But no, the point is that there is no 6.0 announced. Who knows if they're even going to call it 6.0? He's not going to start talking about, well, in 6.0, blah, blah, blah. So he's being cheeky about it. That's fine. You guys don't need to be offended by that. Anyway, he also moved it to the PvP forum. I know it was originally a conversation about unassembled components, which really applies to all gear. But that was primarily I created for the PvP system in CXP progression. And in particular, he wanted to move it there because he wanted to say, okay, if we're going to talk about this, the key thing that we'd like to talk about in terms of the unassembled components is how they impact PvP gear. And let's crack that open. Let's start a thread. What do you want for PvP gear? How do you think it should work? What would be the preferred method for acquiring PvP gear? Lots and lots and lots of responses in this thread. So feel free to jump in this thread if you would like to be part of that conversation. If you read through this thread and the very many pages that are part of this thread, you will get a sense of why this kind of thing is a difficult problem. The responses, just the general set of responses, if you sort of plotted them out on a chart, are very diverse. Some people want bolster. Some people don't. Some people want separate PvP gear from PvE gear. Some people don't. And it's a very diverse set of responses. So to say, and then there's the ever popular, why are you people even responding in this thread? They will never they will never do what the community wants them to do. They're just going to do what they want to do anyway. Well, first of all, if that person just read this thread at all, he would see that there's no way you could satisfy more than 50% of the population anyway, because half the people want one thing and half the people want the other. And if you take any of the dimensions of how you're going to handle gear in the future, you're only going to satisfy half the people. Compromise is getting something we all can live with. That's what people should be thinking about. Not what is my perfect solution, and if they don't give that to me, then obviously they're ignoring me, and BioWare is full of terrible people.
And it's tricky because BioWare is going to try, like every company does, to make a system that has something in it for both sides. But what you risk when you do that is that you displease both sides. So,
right.
Yeah. It's a what you call it when it's like a high wire act.
Catch-22. It's a
balancing act. That's what I'm trying.
Yeah. So, but definitely chime in if you've got your opinions, for one, and for two, read the thread, get a sense of it, get a sense of what kinds of things people are thinking about and what the diversity of viewpoints is. I think that's just interesting in and of itself.
Also, we got details on the cantina that's going to be in Chicago to coincide with Star Wars Celebration. So it's going to be Saturday, April 13th at 7 p.m. Central Time. You can meet the development team, meet each other. You do not have to have tickets or be inside Star Wars Celebration itself. It'll be outside that. It's actually going to be at the Marriott Marquis Chicago and in the Grand Ballroom. So it's a pretty big room, but still space is limited, so come early.
Yes. So that's the Marriott Marquis Chicago is the one right by the McCormick Place Convention Center where Star Wars Celebration is happening, but you do not have, as Seema said, you don't have to have a ticket to Star Wars Celebration to go to this. You can also meet, in addition to developers, and I've seen a couple people chiming in. I think Charles Boyd said, I hope to see people there. I think Dan might be there. I'm sure Eric's going to be there. So that's exciting and fun sounding. You can also meet, and I'm sure you're going to meet some very illustrious community members like SWTORista. Like Zen, one of our officers, like, there's a whole crew of influencers that are going to be there.
Like Mac.
And there's gonna be me. You come say hi to me, and I will buy you a free BioWare supply to drink.
I hope that QA Droid will be there.
Yes, I hope QA Droid will be there. That would be excellent. Also in the news, Mike Bradley, a relatively new voice. Have we heard from Mike Bradley before this week? I don't think we have.
It was a new one for me.
It's new to me. Mike Bradley chimed in, and Mike Bradley, as he says here, is a live producer on the SWTOR team. He is focused on PvP, and in particular, a lot of the work right now focused on what's going on in ranked PvP, what's going on with win trading, and how do they handle things like banning people. So there are multiple threads. There's at least 3 threads here from Mike Bradley where he's talking about what happened with suspensions in the past, because people said, hey, people got suspended in the past, or suspended or banned, and then they got reinstated. Why did that happen? How did that happen? He explains what went on there, which is relatively interesting. They said, well, what about win trading? How is that looking? What are you going to do about that in the future? What is it looking like so far? He goes into that in some detail, and he said he might even have a couple other posts on this topic answering some of those questions. Again, this is another difficult problem, but he's detailing a lot of work that's going on behind the scenes, and we hear them talk about it, even though people say they're doing nothing. We do we do hear them talk about this relatively often, from PvP season to PvP season. So this pulling back the curtain on this a little bit, I think might be interesting, and be nice to Mike, and maybe you'll get more info over time.
I mean, I'll make the same comment. PvP is really hard to be in charge of, so I give him credit for taking it on. And it's never it's never a popularity thing either. The person who does it, yeah. So welcome, Mike Bradley.
Yeah, exactly. Welcome.
Also, there was a post from Eric responding to someone who asked an interesting question about achievement. Basically saying, what about us completionists? Because there's a number of achievements that are based on things that are no longer possible to get in the game. And there's a list of them, and he actually went through that this person posted, and he went through and had a response for each one. Some of them were for promotions at the time, and he didn't know whether it would be, on it, whether it would be appropriate to actually provide them in some way now. But some of them he thought were bugs that they should be available. Or there was one pet, I forget which one, that people could get, but they couldn't unlock it. So he thought that could probably be fixed. So it was a pretty interesting thread. And also, these are some things I hadn't looked at in quite a while. So it was an interesting read.
Cyberglow Muvor from the VIP vendor. I'm a VIP. Do I have a Cyberglow Muvor? Do you have a Cyberglow Muvor?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the question is there too, because I guess you can buy it, but then you can't. Why would you expect to be able to unlock it in collections since it's not a cartel market thing?
And he said Cyberglow, but maybe he means Cyberlight Muvor. I have a Cyberlight Muvor. And maybe, I don't know. Maybe I didn't. You gotta remember to go check those vendors. Sometimes I forget, but
the chat rooms are really giving you a hard time tonight.
Because I'm a VIP, and I've got the founder title. And do you want to see my new mount? Yeah, you guys don't have this mount, do you? I have so many credits. It's unbelievable, but I just went and got a whole bunch more because I can. Yeah. That's Darth Max.
For anyone who doesn't know, a VIP is someone who bought that bracelet.
I think all you need to do is buy the bracelet. It came with the collector's edition originally, which I have with my Darth Malgus statue, which I never even took out of the box. I've got the collector's edition box. I never even took it out of the box because I sort of wanted to keep it in relatively mint condition. But I did open it. It's not in the original. It's not shrink wrapped still. But yeah, you got VIP if you bought the original collector's edition. But then I think you can just buy that wristband from the bartender in the fleet, and and invade the space of the real VIPs because he's got the wristband, if you know what I mean. Buy your way in. Let's see what else. The QA droid has spoken in the news, except it's not in the news. It's not in the dev tracker, and so there's still this little bit of a problem here. I just wish they would just put the QA droid into the dev tracker. I get it. There's going to be a lot of. Eric's point is, if they do that, there's just going to be the dev tracker is going to get filled up with a whole bunch of, hey, thanks for the feedback. We're looking into that. Thanks for the feedback. We're looking into that, which is fine. So what he said he's going to try to do instead is if something interesting happens in there where
Right.
it goes beyond, hey, we're gonna look into that, he'll post on it also and post it in the general forums or something. So
Right. Elevate it.
one of those things got elevated, which is some description of what's going on potentially that's causing people to not get credit from the the bug boss, the bug world boss on Osis. And apparently when guardians die close to the boss, the big champion bugs, it causes AoE damage, which can also damage the boss. So if the guardian's damage damages the boss and ends up killing it, then the guardian gets credit for the weekly, and none of the people in the operation group do. I don't know if that's the only reason, the only way that that happens. It seems to me that there's other ways that that happens, and there's a lot of group voodoo around what makes that happen and what doesn't. And you'll have groups saying, no one can res. That they always say that. No one can run back. We can't have any, of the opposing faction up on top. You have to close one eye. You have to spin around in circles 3 times and say there's no place like home. You have to, so who knows what we're gonna be doing by the end of the voodoo good luck charm set of things we need to do to make sure we get credit. But I did it last week and did not get credit off of a kill, so hopefully they can fix it.
Yeah, I'm sure they will fix it.
Are you?
Yes, I am sure. So we did have a server reset on Wednesday this week, and that was a back-end fix, nothing new in the client, but it was to fix an exploit. So Eric just posted letting us know that, and also just reminding everyone that if you do see an exploit, not to do it and to report it.
Yes. Don't exploit, okay? Exploits are bad, okay? And that's the end of our news. It's a lot. I mean,
It's a lot of words.
They've been
A lot of
working hard, so hopefully they keep it up. But yeah, it's things and stuff. In guild news, couple quick things just to finish off the news segment. In guild news, we have our monthly epic guild activities sponsored by Marcus, who's one of our guildies, one of our officers, and one of the working class nerds running the Working Class Nerds podcast, which also talks about SWTOR and AIE on occasion as well. Anyway, Marcus is planning the March mega event, which is sort of a monthly. We have our Tuesday weekly guild event, and then we have a slightly bigger thing that happens once a month. That's going to be on March 15th. And Marcus says it's going to be PvP related. I know that's not everybody's favorite, but a lot of people do have fun with it. I hope we can make use of the group v group queuing and go in and just, especially for the people that don't care about the PvP as much, just to be able to go in and hang out and check out and wander around and explore all the PvP maps. That's really cool, and that's something you can do with the new system, which I'm really pleased about. What else we got, Seema?
March 29th, there's going to be an AIE meetup in Boston for PAX East. So if you're going to be in Boston for PAX East, I actually don't know what to tell you. Come into our Discord and you can find out who else is going to be there and maybe connect up.
Yes. Jump in there. I know we've got at least 3 guildies that are going to be there. I can't do that. I want to, but I got no March is a bad month. March into April.
You have too much money. You just can't go.
I've got too many Cuban cigars and single malt scotch to sit around and drink on my yacht. To be able to, I mean, I could summon the private jet and just head over to Boston, but you know how it is. And finally, there's an AIE Guild podcast. So we have a weekly podcast for the greater AIE community where our
bi-weekly,
where Tetsemi and Mewcow and Makala talk about what's going on across the whole guild. They have a guest on from one of our game divisions. The guest this week in 2 days on Sunday, 3 days, whatever. I don't even know what day it is. I'm way behind on a bunch of stuff. Anyway, Seema and I are going to be on Sunday, so be there.
Right.
You'll hear us talk about Star Wars on the AIE podcast, the Die Has Been podcast. Shout out to the chat room. You guys are awesome. Make sure you're putting that code there in the chat window. We'll do a drawing after the show because you guys deserve it. They helped us again fix my audio levels. I can never get them right, apparently. And they've spent all shows so far making fun of me and my humble brags in the chat room, which, yeah, I think that's going to be a BioWare code for 1 cartel coin. That's all you guys get today. 1 coin.
I just have to say, Chicken just said in the chat room that you're going to say to Mark Hamill, "Out of the way, Hamill. No time for you," in your Sean Connery voice.
It's the Chicago way, Hamill. I'll play your game, you Jedi rogue. Dread Masters, listen to this.
That lump in your throat, it's panic. Think on what will happen next.
Think on what will happen next. You know what'll happen next is we will get back to our Dread Master lore segments. So this is part 2 of Dread Master lore. Part 1 was last week. It was last week.
Yeah.
And part 1, we talked all about Belsavis, the opening of their vault, how they got out, which was you Imperial player, you unleashed them on the galaxy, and what their whole backstory was, where they came from, how they got sort of imprisoned, and how they broke out and were released and unleashed upon the galaxy.
And then what happened?
That's a good question. So I'll hit 2 things, and then because they aren't really, so we'll hit EV and KP real quick because they aren't really related to the Dreadmasters. They're just happening around the time of the Dreadmasters. KP is related, but not caused by directly. It's indirect. Eternity Vault. So this happens at the same time on Belsavis, because what happens there is Belsavis is under attack. There's the sort of the conflict going on there. Stuff gets wrecked, including part of the ultra secure compound where the Ancient One, Soa, has been imprisoned and trapped. And there's a part of the compound's been breached. There's a hole in the wall, and Garj gets, they call that out specifically. He rips out through the back and sort of tears up the place a little bit. Eternity Vault wasn't caused by the Dreadmasters, wasn't related to the Dreadmasters. In fact, it's far, far older than the Dreadmasters, and it was there originally, even before the Dreadmasters were brought over there and imprisoned. As part of the original prison planet that was created in the Rakata Age, that was just sort of repurposed by the Republic. But anyway, Eternity Vault then is happening. So you do then finish up Belsavis with this first operation. This is the first operation in the game. Super cool operation. In fact, I have here, I believe, which we should just play. Yeah, no, I do have it. There is a page on the SWTOR.com website with the original trailer for Eternity Vault, but it doesn't work. I hit play. You can download it from there, but it doesn't play in the page. But I downloaded it here, so let me play it and we'll show you what it looks like. Little 2-minute trailer. 1:50.
If anyone listening doesn't know, Eternity Vault is an operation.
Yes, it's an operation. First operation that was ever in the game. So here we go. This is pretty cool. As we say, shh, cutscene.
We uncovered a new section of Belsavis prison. Its alien builders
called it the Eternity Vault. It's where they kept the prisoners and technology they could never afford to release. If we don't do anything, well, the war against the Republic may be nothing next to what'll come.
The Eternity Vault defenses are active. Get to the escape pod.
Wasn't that cool? That was just cool. Cool stuff.
I wish they had little ads like that for all the operations. That
Right?
was very cool.
I
Yeah.
completely agree. You're absolutely right. As the chat room mentions, they don't show Garge. They barely show Soa. Garge is one of my favorite bosses in the whole game. Garge, the voiceover. So Soa's talking to you as you're going through Eternity Vault. And Soa's description, his introduction as you walk into Garge is just the best of of any of the bosses. Garge, whose claws scored the canals of Salat. Garge, who finished the milk and left it in the fridge empty.
Yes.
Look upon what he finishes by saying, "Look upon Garge and die," or something like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I have a Garge, so if you fight Garge, I don't know what mode you have to fight him in. Do you have to fight him in vet mode? But you can get a live Garge as a deco for your stronghold, and I have one. In fact, I will go to it while we're talking and just finishing up our discussion of Eternity Vault. But yeah, so same time as Dreadmasters were being released, you then go to Eternity Vault, first operation of the game, and finish it off because you need to keep Soa from breaking out, because he would be far worse than the Emperor. He would be far worse than anything if Soa were to escape. But yeah, it is not directly related to the Dreadmasters. There's Garge, who left the toilet seat up in the middle of the night. Garge. He is the best. So yeah. And then, so that was the first operation of the game. The second operation of the game was indirectly related to the Dreadmasters, but only indirectly. So the second operation of the game was Karaga's Palace. Karaga, did you know that Karaga was 800 years old by the time we go and
No.
and slaughter him?
He lived a good life.
Spoiler. Or bad life, actually. So he apparently got really bad, worse with age, and really mean and cranky, because he was really affluent, like me, and so if you read the wiki, it says he was lived in opulence and gorged on daily banquets of hot delicacies. However, his rise in power and privilege led to a souring of Karaga's temperament, much like me. My temperament is quite sour.
You're so sour.
This turned a once approachable crime boss into a despot who became unsatisfied with anything less than perfection. So yes. So what's going on here is the Dreadmasters, they go out and after they get released from Belsavis, stuff happens, and we'll talk about that in just a second. The Dreadmasters start fighting the galaxy. They take over.
Right. They decide that they want the galaxy for their own. They're not going to be servants to the Emperor anymore.
In fact, is it? I mean, as the storyline goes, the Emperor at that point is presumed dead, right?
Slumbering. Yeah, people don't really know where he is at that point, but
He's
yes.
MIA, and he's MIA to the point that the Dreadmasters are like, well, this is our time, I guess. The Emperor's MIA. We are now going to wreak havoc across the galaxy. We're going to basically take over the Empire, whether they like it or not, which they did not. We Imperials did not, and they're going to take over the Republic and fight the Republic as well. And then, as part of that, as an effect of that, they end up incursion into Hutt space, and I think it said, 15 incursions from the Dreadmasters into impacted the Hutt cartel to the point that Karaga just goes nuts, and he's like, enough of that. I'm done with this. I'm done with the détente between us and the Empire and us and the Republic. I am going to unleash my own attack on the galaxy because I want not only all my territory back, but I'm done with it, and I'm just going to take over as much as I feel like. As a result, both the Imperial and the Republic don't like that and say, all right, time for us to unleash a strike force upon Karaga himself.
And the strike force says, pew, pew.
Pew, pew. Again, a very iconic and well done, excellent operation that was put into the game very early. The opening battle, you walk into Karaga the Hutt's his audience chamber in his palace, and what happens when you approach a Hutt? Well, he opens up the trap door underneath your feet, and you fall down into a Rancor pit, and that's the first boss fight. And Seema, tell me about that boss, because that is your favorite boss fight in the game, isn't it?
Yes, it really is my favorite. And by favorite, I mean I hate it so much.
Well, I mean, we won't go through all the fights, but that one in particular, why don't you explain why? Because I think it is pretty interesting.
I don't like it because people don't pay attention and they spin the boss all over the room and they don't get out of the way of his hands, and it's just chaos.
I wasn't going to come at it from the perspective of, you guys are all bad and you suck, and that's why I hate it. I thought it was a little bit more of,
that's why I don't like it.
As a healer, the mechanics of that fight are frustrating from a healer perspective, because
they wouldn't be, though, if he wasn't always spinning. But yes, because I can put the boss on focus, but I cannot tell from focus who he's targeting. So the fact that he occasionally targets someone and beats them into the ground, I can't tell that from the target. However, that's not that big of an issue because you can heal through that pretty easily. What's really the big issue in that fight is when he's waving his arms and he does a swipe and people get swiped.
Yes. In the harder modes, that's really, really serious too.
Yeah. And I mean, it doesn't help that he doesn't really have an aggro table, so it's not like the tanks can keep control of him. It's the team that has to control him.
Yes. And control themselves, pretty much. Because he's going to bounce around. He's going to pick different people and do his couple of abilities. One is a big swipe. Another one is sort of a pound. He does a slam. But he'll just keep turning to different people and throughout the ops group over the course of the fight. And what you need to do is, if he turns to you, you need to stay still. And then everyone else walks behind him. It's pretty simple.
Right. Take 2 steps, move behind him. Don't run out to where his hands are.
For one. And for two, if he's on you, don't start running around, because then you're going to face him towards the group. Anyway, for a healer not having, no tanks, no aggro, and everything just sort of bouncing all around, that's got to be tough. As a DPS, it's just somebody for me to shoot, so I don't mind it that much.
But it is, the other thing I don't like about that fight is the poor band. They always die.
That is an awesome part of that fight. So if you look up on the balcony, up above, so remember, you've fallen down into the Rancor pit. Up above, you can see Karaga. He's watching you. He's having fun watching you be devoured, in theory, devoured by his pet Rancor. He also has a band that's up on the balcony, and he has his Gamorrean guards. At the beginning of the fight, the band, I don't know if he commands it or they just lose their balance and they fall down. But they fall off, they fall down, and they die. And then throughout the fight, because if you're not dying, basically if you don't wipe, Karaga starts getting frustrated, and he throws Gamorreans down there, the pig guards, and they get eaten too. It is hilariously well done and iconic. So that is really good. Okay, but then those happen. That leads us then to what really happens as a result of the Dread Masters wreaking havoc across the universe. And you found this sort of lead-in post about the Dread Host, Seema. Why don't you walk through that and who the Dread Host is, because they're going to show up in the rest of these operations we're going to talk about.
So once the Dread Masters decided that they were going to take the galaxy for themselves, they started to build their own army, which was called the Dread Host, or the Dread Guard. And you, in various places around the galaxy, if you see mobs that are called Dread this or Dread that, they're part of this Dread Host. And that's what we see on Section X, for instance. And the Dread Host was made up of a few fanatically loyal Sith and Imperial types that were loyal to the Dread Masters. But it was by far mostly made up of troops from the Empire and the Republic that were enthralled to the Dread Masters through their control using fear and panic. They were enslaved, essentially. So they had this big army. And then if you go and read this article on Wikipedia about the Dread Host, it kind of walks through all the places in the game where you run across them, and Section X is one of the first places.
Yes. Yeah, so this is pretty enlightening to me. I never put it together that they were all sort of tied together as part of this Dread Host. So that was really cool. So on Section X, you do meet a couple of the Dread Host. There's two of the Dread Host in particular. There's other Dread people around, but there's one that's in the Aurora Cannon, which is the heroic that you use to finish the Section X weekly. There's the guy you fight at the end. He's one of these sort of captains in the Dread Host. And then the other one, if you do the HK 51 series, you kill another sort of lead Sith in the Dread Host, who's that Lord of Agony dude that you get down in the Fatality, the crashed ship that you're down in there. So that's pretty cool. But if you look here at the top of the list of the Dread Host, who do we see? But none other than Kefis, which leads us to the next big operation in the game that was introduced, which was Explosive Conflict. So now I didn't realize this. Again, spoilers, Kefis dies and then comes back multiple times. And the first time he dies and comes back is before we ever meet him, before Explosive Conflict. So what the deal is he was a Trandoshan warrior. He was co-opted by the Dread Masters to be part of the Dread Host. He was part of I think it was a Republic battle where he ended up getting killed. So this is even before Denova. During a battle with Imperial forces, however, he was fatally injured but was miraculously saved by the Dread Masters. At this time, rogues on the run for the Empire, the Dread Masters, who imbued Kefis with some of their considerable power. So this is, again, before Explosive Conflict. Kefis gets fatally injured. The Dread Masters res him and give him a little bit of power, which makes sense because that leads to the Explosive Conflict operation, where you see some Dread Master power manifested and used by Kefis. So what is explosive conflict? Why don't you sort of explain explosive conflict, and we could talk about some of the details in there, and then what Kefis does at the end. Seema.
Who, me?
All right, I can start, and then maybe you
Okay,
you chime
so yeah, I
in.
mean,
So
you
it's the planet
basically
of
already said
Denova. Yeah.
yes, planet. Well, I suppose the conflict is Asation,
No,
right?
Asation is TFB. So Denova is the planet where
Oh, I
Kefis
get
has
those
made
two
his
confused.
yeah. So right, because you go on the fleet to zone in, and you zone in, and you go, guys, it's not letting me zone in. It's saying that you need to. Oh wait, I'm at the wrong entrance.
Yeah, right. That would be me.
So Denova is explosive conflict. It's a
Oh
planet
yeah. Okay.
where Kefis's base is. So again, he's under the control of the Dreadmasters. He's waging war against everybody uh, as a Dreadmaster lieutenant, and we are then assigned to go hunt him down. A strike force to go take him out. We go to Denova. There's if there's a there's we're getting help from Captain Neril or Captain Dennick. There's a couple, there's sort of the voiceover of explaining what you're doing there as you're going on this assault. They can't just nuke him from orbit because he's got a big shield over his main compound. So your strike force is in there because you've got to get under the shield and get to Kefis and take down the shield so that they can nuke him from orbit, because it's the only way
And
to
by
be sure.
help, you really mean no help.
They are no help. They say things like, "Oh, can't. You're breaking up. Can't. Yeah, we'll catch you later." So, but this is I really liked this place. This has got some really unique fights in it. Explosive
Even though they
conflict is
do
a
bomb
good
us in
operation.
the end.
Well, there's one of the secrets. So good fights.
Spoiler alert.
As you get to the end, you finally take down the shields. If you notice, if you look up in the air, your fleet is then they're doing a flyby, dropping bombs on you. They don't even wait for you to evacuate the compound. You finally took down the shield. You basically saved the galaxy, and they bomb you while you're standing there. You could just stand there and look up and just watch the bombs fall on top of you. Really cool, guys. Cool, really appreciate that. Other great fights in this operation include the two Droogs. So they're the big two big like monsters that
Toph and Zorn.
Toph and Zorn. You fight first. You got to keep them apart because they gain power when they're together, and they're controlled by a mercenary captain who's up on the cliffs emoting really hard throughout the fight to cheer them on, and then he comes down and fights you at the end. That's sort of the end of that fight. The two tanks, Stormcaller and Firebrand. That's an amazing fight. Each of the tanks has... Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, the tanks fight. Everybody tries to do the mechanic. Not that I'm going to harp on this other thing, but nobody even tries in the Rancor fight. Okay.
Again.
Yes, the tanks. Yes, these are all good fights, just not the Rancor one.
Okay, guys, next time we're with Seema in Karaga's Palace, we're going to do all the mechanics on the Rancor fight.
You say
we'll
that.
do it for Seema,
you
guys.
always say
We'll do it for Seema.
It's not the first time you've heard this rant, and it always ends this way. Oh no, next time we'll. We never do.
You sound like me. Next time we'll do it. All right. So yes, great fights and explosive conflict. There's the two tanks. They're really cool. Stormcaller, Firebrand. There's the minefield. That's amazing. The minefield has got a puzzle that like one person needs to be running while you're uncovering and diffusing mines as you cross the minefield and then fight. No, that's not Orlok. I forgot what that boss's name is, but you fight another of the bosses there at the end of the minefield. That's great. And then you get to Kefis. Kefis also really well designed. Cool fight. He starts out, he's controlling an Imperial Walker. You have to dodge his Imperial Walker abilities while you're fighting some of the ads that are coming in. There's a couple droid ads that you have to clear out. Then a Baradium bomber. The whole compound is a Baradium mine, and Baradium is a very volatile material that they're building explosives on that they're going to use against the Empire and the Republic. The Baradium bomber comes out, you fight the Baradium bomber, and then you have the Baradium explosive, and you run underneath the walker, and you do the grapple. And how did you describe this grapple effect last week, Seema? What did you say?
It's like Legolas.
It's like Legolas. She said it's like Legolas. It's nothing like Legolas. It's Luke Skywalker when he does the grappling hook on the
Yes,
Imperial Walkers, right?
yes.
Nothing like
It is like-
Legolas. Legolas
like
does not use
Luke
grappling
Skywalker.
hooks.
It's like
He
Luke
does not.
Skywalker
He does
also.
not shoot a grappling hook. Yes,
It's
at one
similar
point he
because
leaps
it's
up on top of
little
something.
Tiny man kind of magically gets up on the giant thing and takes it down with one.
No, nothing to do with
belch.
Legolas. I don't even know where that came from. Just like Legolas. What? We don't even like get up on top of it. I don't even know.
Not one tiny person gets up on the big thing.
But you don't get on top of it. Even the one person doesn't go up. They just grapple up underneath. They put the bomb and they drop back down. They don't like leap up
they
on
go
top.
up- They go up to the top, and with one blow, one precise blow, they kill it.
Legolas, what do your elf eyes see? I see Kefas driving a Imperial Walker. And my
Similarities of
axe.
Lord of the Rings and Star Wars.
Yeah, I love it when that part of that movie when Dumbledore defeated the Balrog and told Luke Skywalker that he was a wizard. That was
Exactly.
awesome. Anyway, explosive conflict, cool. Caused indirectly by the Dreadmasters, but not directly related, not directly because of the Dreadmasters. But then we get to one more operation that we're going to talk about tonight in our last couple minutes here, which is Terror from Beyond. With this then will get us to a couple things we're going to save till next week, even one more operation before we get to Oricon. But Terror from Beyond is really the Dreadmasters taking direct action that then we need to fight against. So lay it on me, Seema. What is Terror from Beyond?
Guess who we run into in Terror from Beyond?
Guess who we run into?
Yes. The transformed Trandoshan warlord, Kefas. But
Yeah.
yeah, so now we're on Asation.
Yes.
And a portion of the Dread Host has been sent there that to Asation, which is in the Gree Enclave, with the intent of summoning this being known as the Terror from Beyond, who actually has a name, by the way, Low-Tech.
Which I did not know until you found this today. That
Yeah,
is really
he's not
cool.
mentioned in game by that name, but there's an actual article on SWTOR.com that about him that tells us his name is Low-Tech. But anyway, the Dread Hosts have successfully overcome and corrupted the Gree defenses, and they have begun to open the Hypergate because they want to let the Terror from Beyond out. But however, conveniently, Republic and Sith Empire strike teams go
Send in a strike team.
go to Asation to prevent this from happening, and that's the sort of background of the operation. And it's, as Max has mentioned before, it's one of the coolest places art-wise because it's very sort of, it's different because it's in the Gree Enclave. It's their own art, it's their own architecture and building and style, and it's
Yes.
actually cool too because I don't know if I know you've noticed, Max, but you can't get, well, you can, but it's easy to find your way in there because there's little lights along the floor going in the direction that you follow, so that you can always be going forward.
Right. It's really cool. So the bulk of the time that you're on Asation, you're actually walking through a giant machine, and the giant machine is the system which is going to open the Hypergate. So the whole time you're inside, you're walking through. It's almost like Tron. And in fact, there's a point where you go into one of the control areas, and a hologram of you gets transported into a control area, very much like Tron, and that's one of the bosses you need to fight in there. But the whole time you're in that compound, there are pulses of light on the floor flowing, from the entrance to the exit to the hypergate. Basically, that's all the information, data, and electric flow out to get you to the hypergate. So if you ever get lost, just look at the pulses on the floor and you'll know which way to go. But yeah, really, this was another. This is still probably my, probably my favorite operation in the game.
Operator 9 is one of my favorite.
Yeah, here's a little. It's sort of small, but here's a picture of Operator 9, the Operator 9 room, and here's the pulses on the floor as they flow out the door. Operator 9, really great fight. It's got the musical chairs of the circles around the droid at the end. You can battle your friends because you can clear up to 2 of the circles, and you get a little buff on your bar that tells you how many you cleared. So if you go in with an 8-person group, there's 8 circles, there's 2 per color, and there's 2 people on each color. So if you get two circles and the other person you're battling against gets 0, then you win that round. just to be clear. And then you need to yell out "ha ha"
Right.
when that happens, because apparently that's what you need to do, because that's what we do. It gets very difficult on the more difficult modes, like veteran, because they add in additional mechanics, like there's extra probes and the colors matter, and the color of your probe that you need to go get a buff from as you go and do these other parts is very specific, but really cool. And then, yeah, who do you meet up with as you sort of progress through? Well, you meet up with 3 more of the Dread Host, so they're an awesome crew also. Where's my Dread Host note? You meet up with Cyphus, Hiriad,
Oh, right.
and Kelsara. So they are hanging out, and you fight all 3 of them at once. That's another of the boss fights in Terror from Beyond. And they each have slightly different abilities. And as you kill one, the other 2 heal up. So you need to sort of do them in order. It's not a very difficult fight. Even in the veteran modes, it wasn't all that difficult of a fight. But very cool. It was interesting to learn that they were part of this Dread Host and sort of what their history was. You can sort of click into that into Wikipedia as well. Wikipedia, sorry. And then by the end, the penultimate fight is again a thrice-time revived Kephas. So remember, before we even meet him, he got revived once. Then he lived, and then he died once. So this is his 3rd life, basically. So his second revive, 3rd life. Because then he died, came back to life. We kill him in Karaga's palace. They res him again. And this time he's like mutated and really big when we fight him again on a station. And then I don't think it's really him, but he kind of shows up even again one more time. We'll get to that next week.
Yeah.
And then the final fight, which I won't even explain because we would be going another 20 minutes tonight. but the final,
Oh yeah, the Terror from Beyond fight. Yeah.
the final fight is Low-Tech himself, the Terror. Now remember, it's a hypergate. You get to the hypergate. Low-Tech is starting to come through. The hypergate was partially opened. You're almost too late. So he's starting to come through. He's halfway through. You're basically battling him back. You push him back into the hypergate, and then he pulls you in after. So as he pulls you in after, you end up in this alternate dimension where physics works slightly differently, which is a really cool effect as you get in there. So then there's a bunch of these floating platforms that you can't fall off of, even if you try. You bounce from platform to platform. Healers can heal. There's no with the healing is slightly weird with line of sight once in a while, isn't it, Seema? But you can heal from any distance. Isn't that the case inside there?
I mean, some abilities don't work. But yeah, because like AoE abilities and stuff like that, you still have to
Right.
would still have to
True.
be in range of. But yeah.
So
Yeah, it's weird because the raid frames show everybody as being out of range, but you just heal them anyway because they're not really out of range.
and this whole time you're mostly just fighting his tentacles. And but by the end, as you get through that, you end up clearing him out, pushing him back, and getting sucked back into our own reality, and saving the galaxy as we do, as the strike team does. You know, trillion people in the Empire and Republic galaxy, and existential threat that could threaten all life. Out of a trillion people, we decided we're gonna send 8. That's all.
Yes.
That's all we need.
We're gonna send 8.
Trillion people, massive
They're gonna
fleets,
send 8.
giant
We're
ships.
gonna send 8.
We'll just send 8 people.
It's Strike Force. That's what we need.
Strike Force. Strike Force. Strike Force. So again, cool stuff. Lots more to come. I think there will be probably 2 more lore episodes that following this Dreadmaster stuff, especially if BioWare keeps up with the rate of news, because that's taking up half the show for us these nights. But I have a lot of fun talking about this. So this is cool. I hope you all continue to join us as we walk through these lore segments with the Dreadmasters, all the way through the demise of the Dreadmasters, which will be, again, 1 or 2 weeks from now.
Yes.
That's where we'll get ourselves to. But with that, I think we are good for tonight. And our EPC 282 droid can ship out, get kicked out an airlock of escape pods. Did you see those escape pods in that video clip at the beginning of Eternity Vault?
Yes, I did.
Loved it.
I loved it. Yeah.
Anyway, EPC 282 is ready to broadcast this podcast to all of you out there. Please keep up with us on Twitter at Max the Gray and at AIESEMA. And if you know any cool people that should be playing with us, that's why we do this podcast, tell them to check us out. They can check us out in the podcast at AIE at newoverlords.com. They can check us out on YouTube/newoverlords. They can check us out on twitch.tv/newoverlords. They can check out our guild on Starforge, aie-guild.org. You can get to our Discord. You can jump in there and say, hey, this sounds like the kind of place that I would like to play, people that I'd like to come hang out with. Give me an invite. Imperial or Republic, we'll hook you up and we'll get you in the guild. That's what we're here for. So we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.